I would like to invite everybody watching us either on Facebook or on YouTube to drop a line to say hello, to let us know how you're feeling. If you want, you can express your feelings with an emoji and maybe also let us know where you are from. So, what does this topic mean to you, Zainab?
Well, first of all, this topic is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Yes, we all want to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. So I think
Mhm.
well-being is, I think a lot of teachers might think it means organizing their workload,
Mhm.
organizing their time, but it's actually a lot deeper than that.
I
As
agree.
teachers, we tend to worry a lot about our students, that we tend to forget about ourselves, or we think it's selfish to take care of ourselves when our students need us. So obviously it doesn't work that way, because if you are physically or emotionally exhausted, you are not going to be the best version of yourself. You need to take care
Absolutely.
of yourself first. You need to take care of your well-being. You need to make
Mhm.
sure that you're in a sound sense of mind, emotional, you need to be emotionally well, physically well, to do your best. So that should come first. And this is something that we want to talk to you about today.
Exactly. That's something that we want to unpack. There's quite a lot there. So please let us know if you have any questions. We will also have some questions for you. So we kindly invite you to be very active and to type in the comments. Let's start with the beginning. We had a little preview before, but what do we understand by well-being, and especially well-being for teachers? I liked what you said, Zainab, that it's not just one academic definition. It's
Mhm.
actually several layers, several dimensions. You mentioned health, you mentioned so the physical health, emotions, also the psychological aspect, and even the spiritual one. I think each one of us will have a personal definition, because what makes me have a feeling of well-being might not be the same thing for you. How do you see that,
Exactly.
Zainab?
No, I totally agree. And I think when we talk about well-being,
Mm,
like you said, it's very different for
mm,
everyone. And
mm.
it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to make big changes. It's
No.
small, consistent habits that we
Mhm,
make to our lives, or we do, that can help us. So, for example, it could just be, making sure that you're eating well, making
mhm.
sure that you're getting enough sleep, that you're drinking enough water, that you're getting exercise. It could be just making sure you're doing something you enjoy. And I think this is a really important point, because I could have an extremely stressful week and then maybe spend an hour with some friends over coffee and I'm totally recharged. So taking that time to do something that you enjoy, that, it could be, going on a walk, going to the park,
Mhm.
going to watch a movie. It could be whatever it is that you enjoy and helps you recharge. And it doesn't necessarily have to take so much time. I know we
No.
think, oh, we have so much marking. How can I go out? But actually, you'll probably do a better job marking all those assignments or all those pieces of writing if you've given that time to yourself and enjoyed yourself a little bit.
I completely agree. And we could see what you mentioned earlier, that we sometimes forget about ourselves. When we asked a question about what well being is for teachers, we had lots of answers referring to the students. And this is very important for us to realize that it is not selfish to take care of yourself. It's actually a prerequisite of good teaching, to make sure that you are in the right state of mind, emotionally in the right place. You should feel safe physically as well, in order to create a safe, pleasant environment for your learners. Um, and if you want to feel reassured, just think of what we are told when we take off on a plane. When they give the safety instructions, they always tell us, if the oxygen masks drop, make sure that you first place the oxygen mask on yourself and then you assist the others. Why? Because we as parents and as teachers, we focus on the kids more, on our learners, and we tend to forget ourselves about ourselves. But if we do take care of them first and we always leave ourselves last, we might be too exhausted. We might pass out and not be able to assist them. So
Mhm.
please do not feel bad for taking care of yourselves. This
Yes.
is something that we should be required through contract to do in the class.
Yeah, and
Zainab, you
I
mentioned
that's a good
taking time.
point.
Please.
Yeah, sorry. I think a lot of teachers need to be reminded that they need
Yes.
to take care of themselves.
Mhm.
Because, like you said, they do think it's something selfish. They do think that, no, I have other more important things to do. I
Mhm.
can't, you know, waste time doing something else or doing something for myself. So
Yeah,
it is important that they are reminded that this is okay. This is permitted. This is something that you actually have to do in order to be
exactly.
a good teacher.
Exactly. I completely agree. Um, we had a question in our community about how we can use our time more effectively. Because, as you were saying, we feel that we are too busy or too tired to actually find time for ourselves. And there are several things that we can do. I have a friend who has on his laptop this system that helps him organize his time, but it's very simple. Basically, you just have to prioritize certain things. For instance, think about the tasks that would require most energy or the most challenging tasks and do them when you know that you work better. I'm a morning person, so I would tend
Yeah.
to deal with the most difficult tasks in the morning. I also like to bundle them. I mean, I create combinations of tasks that are somehow similar and deal with them at the same time so that I focus in one particular way in that moment. How about you, Zainab? Any tips on time management that you would like to share with us? And also from our teachers, please remember to also let us know about your feelings and also your time management tips.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think we do need to prioritize. So, or also see what times we work best in. We
Hmm.
also need to be realistic with our timings. I think
Yes.
sometimes we get overexcited, or we think that we can do a lot more than we actually
Hmm.
can. So if you come home with 25 pieces of writing that needs marking, or 30 quizzes or tests that need marking, to say I'm going to sit and finish all of them, before
Hmm.
this evening, isn't very realistic.
No.
And you end up getting disappointed and wasting your time, and then not doing anything because you
Hmm.
didn't finish, but then at the same time you're feeling guilty because you need to finish. So it's better to just set realistic timings from the beginning. Make sure, how many can I do in 1 hour. Let
Hmm.
me do 10, and then tomorrow I can do another 10, or I can do 10 this morning and then 10 later on. So I think we
Hmm.
need to be more realistic with our timings. Also, we need to think about how we can organize our time also within the classroom as well. We
Hmm.
need to understand that we need to be flexible sometimes. So, for example, if you're doing an activity in the classroom that you're very excited about and you spent a long time planning, but then it's not going so well, or it's taking too much time, and you feel there isn't much value also,
Hmm.
it's okay to skip it. It's okay to shorten it, and move on. You do need to be, a lot more flexible in the classroom and see what tasks are important and which ones aren't, and which ones you should focus on and which ones you can skip as well. This way,
Yeah.
you can get a lot more done in the classroom as well.
Hmm. And because we are so busy, I think we should absolutely make time for ourselves. And when I say that, I don't mean our families. I don't mean time when we do something, we clean the house. No, time when you either do nothing, even if it's just
Yeah,
5 minutes, or when you watch a movie or read a book or take a walk by yourself, because you recharge yourselves. You mentioned a coffee with your friends. Exactly,
yeah,
it's something for you that will give you more energy than other things. So identify things that you enjoy and make time for them. We always say, I don't have time for that. Nobody's going to create that time for you. You have to make time for yourself and consider yourself a priority, just like you consider your learners. Your energy is tightly related to their energy. So you have to make sure that you are the best version of yourself when you enter the class. Okay, so these are a few tips from us, but if our colleagues watching us have any tips for time management, please let us know. This is very important because it helps us see more perspectives. This is the beauty of the community, right? Lots of things coming in. You
yeah,
mentioned also the classroom. Um, Another question that we discussed briefly in the community and we want to develop now is how can I identify those tasks that I can simplify or share, or stop. Sometimes we do things that are not necessary. We do them just because we got used to them or because we were asked to do, but then we realize that they may not actually benefit the learners or benefit the teaching and learning process. Any tips on this, Zainab?
Yeah, so I think there was a comment in our question on Facebook about one of our community members who says she has 200 students. She finds
Yes.
it very difficult to give everyone feedback. And
Mm.
yes, I agree. If you've got 200 students, it's almost impossible to give every individual student feedback.
Mhm.
So here you're going to have to come up with some kind of system
Mhm.
where you are going to give them feedback through other methods instead of individual feedback. So it could be, for example, through self-assessment, through peer assessment. It could also be, for example, while you're monitoring. So while you're monitoring
Mhm.
as they're doing some work, you can give immediate feedback and address any
Yeah.
questions that happen or are asked at that moment. It's also important to remember that um, we don't have to be perfectionists. I think teachers in general are
Yes.
perfectionists. And in some situations, we don't have to be perfect. We have to sometimes just let things slide. We have to let some things go and not do it in the way that we're used to. So if you have 16 students in the classroom or 15, you have the time to give each one
Mhm.
individual attention. But if you have 200, it's impossible. So you have to remember that I can't do it the same way I was doing it when I had a smaller,
Mhm.
or a smaller number of students in the classroom, and you're going to have to figure out other ways. So
And I think it's
especially
also
when it comes
important to
to
be
feedback.
transparent about this with your learners, right? Just
Yes,
explain. I would love to do this, but I cannot due to the sheer number of people we have here.
exactly.
Let's work together. And sometimes learners may come up with suggestions. Of course, it's our responsibility mainly to figure out a system that works, but we can share responsibilities as well. We were talking about tasks that we can share. Feedback is one of those tasks that we can share. We talked last week when we talked about assessment, about self assessment and peer
Mhm.
assessment. It all starts with having very clear assessment criteria so that learners can use those criteria as checklists. They can
Yeah.
just check against the criteria and evaluate their own work or each other's work.
Yeah.
There's
I
also,
have a,
yes,
I,
please.
just because you're speaking about feedback and criteria, I
Mm,
have a good activity that teachers can use for self-assessment, can also be done with peer assessment for feedback. So it's the feedback or error correction code.
yes.
Um, some of you may be familiar with it.
Hmm. I use the
If you've
same.
got a lot of students, it's so difficult to correct writing. Writing takes a
Mhm.
lot of time. But if you give them this criteria and tell them, to they could either correct for each other. You can have they can do this activity in pairs where one student will check another person's writing and then put these codes on the parts where there's a mistake. So if there's a spelling mistake or a grammar mistake, it could also be done for self-assessment. You can collect the writing and then just choose this criteria to mark
Mhm.
their writing, and then they have to correct it themselves as well. So this is a way that can also save time and help when it comes to
And it's
giving
beneficial
feedback.
for the learners as well, because if we
Mhm.
just correct, they will take a look at everything and say, yeah, yeah, okay, I got my mark. What do I care? But if you just write SP for spelling, they go back and check the spelling and they have to correct it themselves. So they will remember, oh, okay, so this is how you spell this word.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you, Zainab, that we have lovely comments coming from the teachers watching us. We have teachers from Georgia and from Spain, Nigeria, India, Ghana, Libya. Thank you very much. Somebody said you're really saying very important things, and we are happy that we are reaching you and that you are open to this message that we have to take care of ourselves, and it's not something that would show us as being selfish. And as I was saying, it's important to create a discussion about this in the school as well. Talk to the learners about their well-being, talk about your well-being, create include well-being in the ethos of the school, and create a school or even community discussion about what it means to feel good about your job, what the community and the school can do to support your state of well-being. And some teachers that told us that they love taking a walk in nature, even if it's very short, it's very helpful. Somebody says, I love writing. So during my leisure time, I engage in free writing. This is great. Um, writing can be very useful. It can be either journaling, and lots of people relate to that. Even a gratitude journal is great. I can tell you what my son's English teacher does. For 2 years now, she has a gratitude journal with the students. At the end of the
Right.
week, they take a few minutes and they have to write 3 good things that happened that week. And they can share or not. I mean, it's up to
Mhm.
them. They have a special place in the notebook, and the teacher does the same. I love this topic of well-being because it shows this bond between teachers and learners, and it's something we can work on together. We have to be vulnerable. We have to tell our students how we feel. We can also be open when we are tired or exhausted,
Yeah.
and they will react well to this because we don't have, you were saying, we don't have to be perfectionists. We have to
Yeah.
be human. We work with people. We are people, and we have to be aware of our limits and work on pushing those boundaries, but we still have them.
Yeah. I agree.
um
With boundaries, especially. I
yes.
mean, I've had students who would come to me, um,
Mm,
the very next day after, a major exam, and I have so many students, and be like, "Did you correct our writing?
yes.
Like, did you correct the exam?"
Sorry.
And no, not yet.
I had to
But
sleep.
exactly. So, I mean, sometimes we do have to set boundaries, and let students know that, okay, you're going to get your feedback or you're going to get your result after 1 week. Even
Mhm.
if you know you're going to get it done before then, but you need to give a more realistic timing because you don't know what's going to happen or how you're going to feel. You need to give yourself time as well.
Yeah,
So I think
and
this
a
is
bit of
something I
grace, you can say it's good
exactly.
enough. I mean, I will do it. I will have it done. Just bear with me. I'm just a person
Yes.
who has to
And
do
it's
this.
important
Tell
to
me, I
let
want
them
to do
know.
good work. Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And we
Somebody's saying
mentioned
about
earlier,
the
oh, go ahead.
yes. Go on.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
on.
we were talking earlier about setting boundaries when it comes to
Mhm,
WhatsApp groups.
mhm,
And this is something that I suffer from because I have a lot of WhatsApp groups with teachers as well. And you need to make sure that you set a time of
mhm,
when they can actually contact you so that you're
mhm,
not getting messages anytime during the day. And then also you need to let them know when you will respond to them so that
mhm.
they,
It's
expect
not
a
immediate.
response within, 24 hours, within
Mhm,
48 hours. Even if you respond immediately or respond, much faster than that, at least they know that if you haven't responded in 24 hours, doesn't mean you're ignoring them. You will
exactly.
respond to them. So it is important that you set these boundaries, but you also let them know so
Mhm,
that they are
exactly.
aware that, okay, we're going to hear back from her, but maybe not today.
Not today.
Mm.
Somebody mentioned your correction code, Zainab, and they were saying introduce the code from the start of the semester. Absolutely. And the beauty of it is that once you introduce it and you explain it, you can use it over and over again without any kind of instructions. So you can just do that with your learners, and you are safe for the rest of your work with them. I really appreciate this comment. When a teacher is in a good place mentally, it can truly help us deliver classes and run incredible sessions. Take care of us, so we take care of them, of the learners. I fully agree. And I think we have to be organized. We have been dropping these words over and over again since we started talking about this. You have to be consistent and you have to be organized. You have to understand what is happening to you. So that's why I wanted to briefly introduce a model. There are several models um, on how to take care of our well being. One of them is PERMA. It's called PERMA. Can you see it? You can. And
Yeah,
I
I can
don't
see
worry,
it.
we will go into each letter. Okay. And here again, I will kindly ask you to contribute. We have an explanation and some questions. What does this model mean? It means that our well-being is actually supported, if you want, by 5 pillars. And we have to consciously think about each pillar and see which one is strong, which one can I rely on in hard times, and which one should I work on and make it stronger. So, PERMA, right? It was set up by an American psychologist, Seligman, and we adapted it for teachers because as I said, it's necessary.
Yeah.
P is for positive emotions.
Mhm.
And I would like you to, all of you, to think about moments in your teaching when you have joy, when you have happiness about your job, when you feel that you are happy with what you're doing. So what gives you that kind of joy when you teach? Zainab, how about you? When do you feel particularly positive in the classroom or outside, but still related to your teaching?
I think mainly when I see how certain students who have been struggling
Hmm.
have finally managed to achieve something, and they
Hmm.
have that aha moment where they finally get it, they understand it, and they feel very proud of themselves. I
Hmm.
think those are one of the most joyous moments for me in the classroom.
I completely agree. Those eyes that sparkle when they get something
Yeah.
and they're like, ah, okay, we got it. That's a
Yeah.
great feeling. So we have to identify what other positive feelings we might have. It could be interest. It could be curiosity. It could be just a passion for teaching. Anything that works for you is fine. Just identify what positive feelings you have about your teaching. What other positive feelings can you develop? And again, we look forward to hearing from you. Then, E, engagement.
Mhm.
And this is a bit of an interesting one. I think we have all had those moments when we felt that everything was going so well in the class. We had an activity prepared, we gave instructions, and everything was flowing. And we were so engaged in it that we lost track of time. We were completely
Yeah.
captivated by it. So think about those kind of tasks that you enjoy. How can you make sure that you feel engaged and the learners feel engaged? Any such moments for you, Zainab, when a task or a moment in the class when you feel that everybody's engaged, you as well?
Yes, I think with the students, the times where I felt like they would be like, "Oh, how did the time fly?" is when we're
Hmm.
doing competitions or
Hmm.
games,
Yeah.
especially when they have to use the language. So they're enjoying it, they're using the language, they're practicing, but then at the same time, they're having a lot of fun. So a lot of times when there's competitions, especially when you have them in two teams and there's students yelling from here and students yelling from here, and I teach adults. I mean, I
Hmm.
haven't really taught younger students, so
Hmm.
I've seen this with grown adults getting
Yes,
super excited over a game and
absolutely.
getting very competitive. And it's in those moments where you feel, where did the time go? And the students don't want the class to end. They don't want the activity to end either.
And the same for us, right? We enjoy them
Yes.
as well when we see that they're so engaged. R is for relationships. Now, this is something that it's very important to reflect on, because relationships doesn't refer only to the relationships with our students. It can be relationships with colleagues. It could
Mhm.
be relationships with parents, and sometimes this can be kind of tense for many teachers in public schools. The relationship with the school management or the authorities, the system
Yeah.
inside which we work. I can give you one tip here, which I really love. I saw in a school, they have a wall in the teacher's lounge with envelopes, one envelope per teacher. And they have the name of the teacher on the envelope. And during the day, sometimes, you go into the teacher's lounge and you see people, but you don't really have time in 5-10 minutes to exchange a few words. But you
Mm.
see somebody who looks particularly nice that day, or somebody who seems under the weather or upset. You just write a short message like, "You look lovely today, Zainab," and you put it in the envelope of the teacher. And at the end of the day, they check their envelope.
That's
Sometimes
lovely.
they do it once a week. It's a lovely
Yeah.
thing, and it's good for
Mm.
community building. I don't know how many schools do team building with the teachers. Very few, unfortunately. And it's good for us to feel that we are there for each other. Even with
Yeah.
teachers you don't really have a chance to talk to very often, maybe teachers of
Yeah.
other subject matters, and it's very important to cultivate those relationships.
Yeah.
M
I love this
is,
idea.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think this idea is great because, like you said, I don't think many schools do something like this. And in many schools, there's kind of sometimes a toxic environment between
Yes,
colleagues as well.
competition, or yeah.
Jealousy, competition. And I
Yes.
think something like this would really help. And,
Mhm.
you know, even if you had negative feelings towards one of your colleagues, out something nice and put it in that envelope. I mean, those feelings might go away. So
Exactly,
it's a
exactly.
lovely idea.
I also love it. M is for mattering, and I think, or meaning. I think many teachers know, but we sometimes also forget that our work matters. And it would be really, really important for us to remember that we teach with a purpose. And what helps in this pillar is to identify what is important for you as a teacher. What is your purpose? Do you teach only language? Do you teach values? Do you teach behaviors? And focus on teaching with a purpose. So that would be also very, very nice. And the last one is A, accomplishment. Now, this is something that we all need to improve. I feel that very few teachers celebrate their successes. Zainab, is there something in your work that you are really proud of? Something recent that you feel you're, I did well?
Yes, actually, recently I did a train of trainer course to some teachers
Mhm.
to help them train other teachers in their area. And I recently received pictures from some of these teachers delivering workshops to other teachers in their area.
Nice.
So yes, it was very
Mission
nice that
accomplished.
it happened so soon. That they were
And
so,
it's
so committed and excited about it that very soon after we finished this training course, they were already delivering workshops.
I think it's very important to consciously focus on these moments and celebrate. We often are like,
Yes.
yeah, it was good, and we move on, and we forget to actually take a few moments to say, good job, I'm proud
Yeah.
of
And
myself.
to see the difference we're making as teachers. We may not
Absolutely.
see it every day, but if
Mhm,
look back from the beginning of the year to the end of the year,
mhm.
you've made a really big difference, with your
Absolutely.
students, whatever you're teaching. So as teachers, we make a difference.
Yeah, we have two very good comments. One of them is a question.
Mhm.
But very briefly, there is a very good longer comment, and we will reply to you in a few moments, um, with tips about personal things we can do. Remember, it's not only about what we do in the classroom, it's also about what we do outside the classroom, doing things that we enjoy. Um, Developing professionally is one of those things that help us with engagement. The fact that you are here focusing on a live event for teachers is something great that you are doing for yourselves. You feel that you are exchanging opinions with other people. You're not alone feeling tired and overwhelmed. So we have some good comments there, like good nutrition, sleep, trying to stay away from the screen for a while. These are great tips. And then there is a very good question from one of our community members. Last year, I felt overwhelmed, which led to burnout. It affected my performance. So, what do you advise me? The fact that you came through it is a wonderful thing, and well done, you. I think that now, if you have been through that, and all of us here, we should be aware of the fact that we should work consciously on our well-being before the burnout comes.
Yep,
So please
exactly.
take focus on what we were discussing: positive emotions, how is teaching important to you, who can support you, and work on those consciously so that you have a safety net before this moment arrives, or maybe you can completely avoid that moment. But just the fact that you realize it was too much and that you took some steps to come out of it, very good job. Anything to say to these teachers, Zainab, before we wrap it up? Because once again, time just flew
Time
by.
flies. Yeah, no, I agree with you completely, Christiana. I think we do, as teachers, need to focus on what we can do so we don't
Mhm.
reach burnout. And the
Yeah.
fact that you realized, this mistake and want to change says a lot. It says that you are hopefully going to now focus more on your well-being. So just some
Mhm.
of the tips that we mentioned today, take
Yeah.
care of yourself. You come first. It could even mean putting in that, tiny bit of extra effort, making yourself a
Mhm.
nice meal to eat instead of just picking up a
Yes,
sandwich. It does make a difference
exactly.
when you eat something is good for you and that you enjoy eating, and that can make a difference. So just these tiny, consistent habits can make the difference. And I'm glad that you noticed and realized,
And
and
thank you for
hopefully,
sharing. I think it's important that we
exactly.
realize all of us are under a lot of pressure. We work very hard and we're not alone. And by sharing this workload, by sharing this pressure, we can feel better. So that's why our community is great. Thank you so much for joining us for this event. Thank you so much for all your great posts in the community. Please keep them coming in. Thank you to Marcus and Chris who were behind the scenes. And we will see you next Tuesday, not tomorrow, next week on Tuesday, with another great live event. It's going to be a deep dive into digital technologies. You already gave us some ideas, so we will discuss more about this, and there will be more posts. So please let us know what you would like us to talk about. Thank you very much. We hope this was useful, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.